So two primary goals. One is you must, and by the way folks, it's not about donkeys and elephants, okay? There's plenty of blame to go around the last 5 years and before that. The question is, what are you going to start doing now, after the last month that we've had, where you start saying the federal government must live within its means. The federal government must do some things similar to what Nevada does. Balancing the budget by itself won't do it, because, as we know, balancing the budget has no spending control. You say, I'm going to spend this amount of money, well guess what, now you got to go find the revenue for it. You have to have spending caps also. Tie it to 1% of gross domestic product. Something that is objective instead of a political money sweepstakes for trying to buy votes for whoever you think your voter base is. That's not the federal government budget job. And somebody needs to start saying, and it's not Tea Party, Republicans or Democrats, it's you got to stop borrowing 40 cents of every dollar and figuring out how you're going to pay for it later. The most insidious thing of the last 5 years, folks, is this. When the decisions were made to spend the money, there was no discussion on how you're going to pay for it. Until the debt has occurred and the wolf's at the door, as we have seen, especially in the last week. So it wasn't, can we pay for this? Should we spend this money? Make those budgetary value judgments. There was none of that. They were made. We'll figure out how to pay for it later. And guess what? Remember when Rahm Emanuel said early in the Obama administration, you never want to waste a good crisis? You can get all sorts of things done you never could have before. Well, he was absolutely right. Because there was all sorts of things done to grow the budget that weren't able to be done before, and here we are now going after the fact. After that's on the books, how are we going to pay for it? Kind of a dumb way to do policy. It's nice if you do it as you go. So, if I am elected to represent the state of Nevada in CD2 on September 13th, I can assure you that number one priority will be to secure an assignment on the Public Lands or the Natural Resources Committee, because they have primary jurisdiction over the Bureau of Land Management. A hands-on management style for where is the permit with respect to what's going on at Lake Mead in terms of potential other vendor operations there. What's going on with the infill projects in Clark County? What are you doing with the Bureau of Reclamation in terms of making sure that the Colorado River stuff stays on track so that we have a supply of the most precious natural resource in the state, which drives the economy for all of us? That's the number one issue. And then the number two one is this. You've got to start turning the tide for the budget. If there is anybody that thinks that we can continue to sustain borrowing almost half of your budget and racking that debt up, I'm simply not your guy. It makes absolutely no intuitive or fiscal sense. But as you get ready to answer that question, who are we going to hire on September 13th? This organization specifically. I hope when you look back at the 14 years that I served the state in the Nevada legislature, and the 3 sessions that I chaired the Senate Judiciary Committee, and you talk about issues like President Polish was talking about construction defect, or lien reform, or any of the other things that affected this industry when times were good and bad both. You never had a lot of problems with the Judiciary Committee when I was chair. You never had to send a group of folks. Cindy didn't have to come in with folks and put on their rubber gloves and rough me up a little bit in the office. I was the guy that was with you on your issues throughout, not because there was a political quid pro quo, because after 24 years of experience in the private sector, practicing in the development area, doing water law, doing entitlement, zoning, planning, those sorts of things, I knew your issues and was with you and agreed with you. Not because it was a great lobbying job, although you have great lobbyists, it's because we are kindred spirits. So when you look at somebody to go back and knows the importance of jobs, knows where the federal pinch points are for that in terms of get us fully involved with the landowner, helping us get things going again, and who also knows your administrative issues in terms of lien reform, construction defect, those sorts of things. I hope you'll remember that period from 1998 through the 2009 session in the Senate, and before that in the Assembly. You didn't have legislative problems for your issues on the Senate side when Mark Amodei was serving in there. And I want to thank you for that, because it's been a privilege to work with you folks. It's a quality organization. The state's lucky to have you, and it's just our challenge now to get things turned around as fast as possible, to get things going again on a sustainable basis. Appreciate the invite. Nice to be here at the East Side Cannery. Cindy, I loved your talk, and actually the president's talk. Maybe those were the 2 best talks you had today. But anyhow, thank you for coming, and don't forget to vote early or on election day, but not often like the Dallas Cowboys. Thank you very much.